and we're off with this year's Mike Oaster, presented by Mike Oaster 2025 mock NFL draft for picks 1 through 5. Off we go. So our first pick coming in is the Tennessee Titans, and we'll put them on the clock right now. Their needs, clearly they need a quarterback. I got to break some news to Tennessee Titans fans, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this. Will Levis is not the guy. You're going to have to move on from Will Levis. Um, Certainly an edge, a wide receiver, linebacker, or safety. Those are all good options for you. And yeah, certainly Cam Ward comes to play. Shador Sanders out of Colorado, Abdul Carter from Penn State, and Travis Hunter from Colorado are certainly all very good players. I think everybody would rank them as some of the top players in this draft and all possibilities here. But I think it's pretty clear that Tennessee is going to need to get a quarterback. That's what you do when you have the first pick. If you have an option of not picking a quarterback, you probably trade down. If you already have a quarterback, you don't. So that's the way to go. And of all of the people that are involved in this list of options, I think the pick is in. It's Cam Ward out of Miami University. This is probably the only lock we have in these first 5 picks I'm very confident that the Tennessee Titans are going to pick Cam Ward. Cam Ward has a really low floor. I mean, he is probably going to be a serviceable, above average NFL quarterback for many years to come for Tennessee. And I think that's the right pick for them to do. He does have some upside, not as big as like Shador Sanders or something like that, but certainly there's upside there. He's a big guy, 6'2", 219 pounds. He wasn't even recruited by colleges out of high school, so he moved from not even being recruited by colleges to the potential #1 pick in the NFL draft. So the work ethic has to be there in order for that to be true, to be able to get to that stature from, in essence, nowhere. I don't want to say that it was nowhere, but he had the talent. He probably realized he had the talent. But he had to work really hard to get to it, and there's no evidence that that work ethic is going to diminish in any way, shape, or form. He's continued to develop at Miami, and I think he's gonna do very well for them. There's a lot of talented quarterbacks that get to the NFL, and simply because of effort, they just don't materialize. And I don't think Cam Ward's that guy. I think Cam Ward's going to have the effort there. I don't think that's ever been in question for him. Some of the concerns that he has are he gets confused by complex defenses. Well, complex defenses are all the rage in the NFL. They're all complex. So he's going to have a learning curve that goes along with that. It would do my heart a lot of good for Cam if Tennessee would bring in an experienced quarterback, and maybe get rid of Will Levis and bring in some experienced guy that can really help Cam Ward out in the locker room. But if not, then it falls down on can the offensive coordinator Nick Holtz and the quarterback coach Bo Hardigree, can they get him confident to read these complex defenses going forward? That's really the only question that keeps him from that a level of being upper average, above average. I don't think Cam Ward's ever going to get to elite status. I don't think he has the physical tools to do that, but I also don't think Tennessee's going to need that. They're going to need a serviceable, above average quarterback, and I think Cam Ward's the guy. Cam Ward goes #1 to the Tennessee Titans. Then we get to probably the second biggest mess of a team right now in the NFL, and that's the Cleveland Browns. They still owe Deshaun Watson $92 million over the next 2 years, and they don't have a quarterback. Not only, even if he could physically play, which he's proven over the last 2 years that he can't, he's out. He's out for the season because he tore his Achilles again for the second time. So they still owe him $92 million over the next 2 years. All of that hitting the cap, hitting the salary cap, that money is guaranteed. So the only real solution for this is to pick a quarterback that is going to give you a less of a cost by picking this quarterback. Even though it's a high pick, it's still a rookie contract, and that can get you through the next 2 years before you'll have to pay that quarterback something, in the neighborhood of 292, 300 million, maybe even by that point. So what a mess that has created. They're still able to sign Miles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Miles to long-term contract to 2030, so he's a key component to what's going on. They've got a lot of needs. I mean, they've got a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. They got Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett is a serviceable backup. And you got an offensive line problems. You don't have Jedrick Wills. He has been lost to free agency. Your right tackle Teller goes down quite a bit. So you have a decent center and you have a really good guard. Again, when healthy, but you need some work in the offensive line to pick that up. Another edge rusher opposite Miles Garrett would be a key component to keep that defense running. Speaking of running back, you got Nick Chubb coming back from injury. If you can get him signed, he is a free agent as well. So outside of that, you really don't have any options there, and you lost Thornhill to free agency as well. So there's a lot of needs here for the Cleveland. So it's not above the possibility that they trade down for an additional number of players to see if they can fill some of those holes. But the biggest hole they have, the most frustrating part the last season was, and I kept saying this to myself as a Cleveland Browns fan all this time, can we just find a quarterback that can spot an open receiver and hit him? And so that's really the answer that we need to be hunting for. There's a lot of talent here. There would be nothing wrong with seeing Travis Hunter come in, and then there's your wide receiver threat. And along with Jerry Judy, and then he can play corner as well. So he can play if you can get him on the outside corner, and play Denzel Ward and Travis Hunter on the outside. That would be and have him come in and play as a wide receiver. It's almost like a two-person hit, if you can do that. Abdul Carter on the other side of Miles Garrett just would scare me as an offensive coordinator, and that's almost exciting beyond possible words to get Abdul Carter in. But that just is not the biggest need that we have. We have other needs, and that brings me to Shador Sanders. Which is we need an inexpensive quarterback. Inexpensive in means that they're doing a rookie contract and not a full contract. And I think that's the answer. So my pick for the Cleveland Browns, Shador Sanders. He's a leader. He certainly doesn't lack any confidence. If you know the guy, there's no lack of confidence in him at all, and he has an incredibly high football IQ. He can read defenses. He can find open receivers. He can move around in the. He is a pocket passer, but he can move around out of the pocket, and he keeps his eyes downfield as he does that. And then he's a pretty accurate thrower. So he adjusts well to changes in defense, and so all of those things are good. Nothing wrong with the fact that he's the son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders. So I think that helps as well from just a football IQ and understanding football and how it goes. So that's there. The concerns there really are he just holds the ball too long. He'll take the sack, or he just takes a lot of sacks because he holds onto the ball too long. And then so you end up with one play, and now all of a sudden you're down by 10 or 15 yards because he got sacked, and now you lose the whole series because of that. So I'd like to say, well, they can teach that out of him, but I'm not really sure you can teach that out of him. I don't really know. So my other concern, just is that it's a strength that he's the son of Deion Sanders, is also a concern that he's the son of Deion Sanders, because you get Deion into town, he could certainly be a problem. But for me as a Browns fan, I'm liking the fact that there's a possibility that we could get a little bit of Deionism come into Cleveland and spark that up. We haven't had that since Fire. We haven't had that kind of fire since Baker. So I think that would be good to see that kind of fire back again, and some confidence, and have the team have some confidence in that quarterback. I think all of those would be good things. So again, we got to get over Deshaun Watson. He comes back again next year, so I don't know what you do with him. I guess somebody has to empty the trash for $92 million. But the Cleveland Browns put a lot of money into that failure of an experiment, and the only thing I can say is perhaps with a high ceiling that Shador has, Cleveland Browns could get the happy ending they've paid for. Moving into the New York Giants, I said the Cleveland Browns, I think, are the second biggest mess in NFL right now. Here's the first number one mess that is the New York Giants. They pretty much need everything. They need a quarterback, offensive line, linebacker, cornerback, defensive line. They're getting beat on the line consistently, and they just seem to, as a team at the administrative level, lack football intelligence. They are the NFL team that pretty well put Hard Knocks to rest, with the owner Jim Mara saying, "I tell you, I'm not going to be able to sleep if Saquon ends up in Philly." And sure enough, he's talking to general manager Joe Shane, and making that statement. Sure enough, Saquon ends in Philadelphia. They win a Super Bowl. The Giants are picking third. What a huge mistake they make there. They do need a quarterback. They absolutely need a quarterback. So now, is that the first? Do they need to address that first? I don't know if they need to address that first. They need so many things that the best player in the draft is probably a good play for them. But since the two quarterbacks that I think are the best two quarterbacks in the draft are now gone, you're left with Jackson Dart, who's probably really a high or I mean a low end first round or a high end second round, and Tyler Shuck from Louisville. Again, same thing, probably late first rounder. So you'd be stretching here. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see New York trade down and maybe the Raiders trade up into this spot for Ashton Genty. But if they're going to pick here, my pick for them, the best athletic player in this draft, Penn State's Abdul Carter. This guy's a beast. He played last year. He played inside linebacker, and now he moved to the outside this past year. So he can play it all. He can go to the left side. He can go to the right side. He can go up the middle. He can stop the run. He can stop the pass. He is absolutely the most athletic player in the draft, and can play any of those defensive linebacker positions. And he really doesn't have a weakness. He really doesn't. He's strong in every area, in every category. And just when you need all kinds of players, you just need players. I think that if they don't trade down, I think the New York Giants are the right pick here. Again, they could trade down. The Raiders could trade up into this spot. They want Ashton Genty pretty badly, I think. So I think they could trade up and pull that in here, or they could just stay patient and wait. All right, we move into the fourth pick, and that becomes the New England Patriots. About building a football team, sometimes it's not sexy. And when you look at all of the teams in the NFL, the least sexy team is the New England Patriots. They just don't have any flash. They have no big players. They have no face of the franchise or anything like that. Their sexy left town long time ago. Tom Brady, Gronk, they're gone. Okay, that sexy and flash is gone. They were left with Bill Belichick. Got some news flash for you. Not very sexy. But when he got his 20-something-year-old girlfriend, 3 times less his age, suddenly he became sexy, and New England said, "You're out of here." So he's gone. So the pick that's the least sexiest pick is probably the right pick here. You want to start building. You're getting just beat up at the line, and you need to start addressing some of those issues. On the offensive and defensive line, I think good options here for New England would be Will Campbell of LSU or Kelvin Danks Jr. of Texas. And Will Campbell is 6'6", and Kelvin Danks is 6'5". So you take a look at, okay, Will Campbell's a little bit bigger. He is a little better at the run than Danks would be. Danks a little better at the pass, but New England is going to run the ball at least for a while, even though they don't have a running back. They're going to run the ball. So they need somebody up front that's going to push those people out of the way. And I just think that does an inch matter. I've said to people, what's the difference between a tackle that's 6'5" and 6'6"? And the answer to that is 1 inch. So if I went down to my wife right now and because she's not a football fan, so if I just came down to her and said, "How do I get my wife into this thing?" and say, "Honey, does an inch matter?" She's going to say, "Yes." So I think the inch is going to matter. Let's go with Will Campbell as New England's pick for the offensive tackle. He's 6'6", 319 pounds, elite adaptability and strength. As well as Kelvin Danks Jr. These guys are the most elite tackles in this draft for sure. And then there is a drop off. It's not a significant drop off, but there is a drop off after these two, and a little bit of a nasty temperament when he needs to. So he can come around the edge and take out a linebacker or a defensive back, and he's going to do so in a pretty big squash. The concerns that he has is he's got short arms, giving him a very narrow base. And when you get some of these bigger, lankier edge rushers in the NFL, like Myles Garrett and things like that, the question comes into play is, are they just going to go right around him because he just doesn't have the arm, the lateral arm movement to keep him at bay? But there's no question this guy's strong. So if he gets his hands on him, I think he's going to be able to keep him down. I think this is a good pick. Will Campbell at pick number 4. Then we get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. As with all of these picks, these are the top 5 picks. So these are teams that just didn't play well this year at all. So their lines needs are defensive lineman, corner, safety, offensive lineman, and wide receiver. You have a new GM at Jacksonville. He came from the Rams. I put Aaron Donald down here to remind me that James Gladstone had Aaron Donald for what, a decade in Los Angeles, if whatever, how many ever years he played there. But this guy solidified the middle of that defensive line. So he is going to want to kind of lean that way, I'm thinking, to try to shore that up. He understands the importance of that. So the two options here are Mason Graham to do that. But when you come up here and you take a look at their needs and you say they have a cornerback need and a wide receiver need, there is a very talented player with a high ceiling in this draft, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, who does both. And he wants to play both. And he wants to play both, pretty much all the time. So he wants to do both defense and offense. You kind of getting a 2-in-1 player, or almost a Shohei Ohtani kind of thing, if you will, in the NFL. I'm not suggesting he's going to be at that level. But in college and the Big 12, and we have to take that into consideration, it's Big 12. But in college, he was, one of the elite corners and wide receivers. You could have said, how did he do at wide receiver? He was certainly top 5, easily top 5, if not the best. And then corner, easily top 5, if not the best, at that position as well, inside of the Big 12. So I could see them going with that, with Travis Hunter as well. So that's who I have them picking. Top level wide receiver, top level defensive back. If there is a ball that can be caught, he's going to catch it. And my answer to that is simply, if that ball was thrown in the direction of Travis Hunter and he can't come down with it, that ball was uncatchable. Tremendous upside here. Could be an elite two-way player like we haven't seen in a very long time. Maybe even Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson level of a player here. So what concern do you have? Well, I don't know if cockiness is a concern, but this kid certainly appears to have that. We'll see. We'll see how he manifests inside of an NFL world at Jacksonville, but that would certainly be one concern that I have about him. Other than that, I really don't have any concerns. I think this guy's going to be an elite player and can go either way. The strange thing about these first 5 picks is I talked about these and saying this is who I think. I'm pretty sure for Cam Ward going to Tennessee. After that, any one of these next 4 teams could pick any one of these 4 players, and I think they're going to be good to go. So there's my top 5 picks, just a little kind of precursor into number 6. The Raiders could move up from number 6 into the spot if they stay here. Ashton Jeanty doesn't go away. That's who I think the Raiders pick at number 6 is Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. So there it is. That's my top 5. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.